Yo guys, this is Milky from the Torchlight Maxroll team, and welcome to the Growing Breeze Forsaken Iris leveling guide, or Iris for short. As the newest hero added to Torchlight Infinite, as always, she will be available alongside the seasonal pass. You'll be able to pick her up at stage 1 and be on your way. Now in this video, we're going to be covering how to take your Iris all the way from level 1 into the new and improved Nether Realm. We'll be looking at her key mechanics, hero traits, talent selections, active and passive skills, as well as some general gearing tips. Forsaken Iris brings a brand new archetype to Torchlight Infinite. She allows you to turn your Spirit Mage's passive skills into powerful active skills, essentially minions. You can then build strong empowering skill synergies to massively increase their power, whilst you just sit back and watch them destroy everything. Iris relies on two new mechanics, growth and nourishment. Growth is a new keyword that causes your Spirit Magi to gain additional stats and enhance skills as you increase the amount of growth they have. Every 100 points of growth will take your Spirit Magi to the next stage, where they will gain additional skill area and the ability to use a new enhanced skills. Growth is primarily gained by using the hero trait Friends We Are and the empower skill Nourishment of Life. Be warned though, because when you enter a new zone, that growth stat is going to go back down to 0, so you're going to need a little ramp up time before your minions reach their full potential. Nourishment, on the other hand, is specific to Iris's hero traits. Each time your hero trait activates, by default your Spirit Magi will gain 4 stacks of nourishment. These stacks grant an additional 15% damage per, and by default it goes up to 180%. However, this value can actually be raised with some hero memory modifiers, which can take the value much higher. Once reaching level 13, you'll encounter your first Hero's Forge. Defeat this boss and you'll gain access to your hero traits. The first one we're going to take is Friends We Are. Now this causes the buffs you would typically get from your Spirit Magus to no longer apply to you. Instead, you get that nourishment effect we spoke about earlier. Additionally, your nourishment will cause your minions to regen 2% life per second per stack of nourishment, and then for every 6 stacks of nourishment, they're going to take reduced damage. At level 32, we have the first selection to make, and we're going to choose Struggle Free. This reduces the seal cost of your Spirit Magus. Despite being an active skill now, you still need to seal them. So getting some extra mana freed up from this point is going to be really nice. You also get an additional 2 maximum nourishment stacks, which increases that 12 to 14. At level 50, once again, no choice to be made. We have to take We Shall Protect You. And this reduces the chance that your Spirit Magus will lose a stack of nourishment when they cast one of their skills. Also to be noted, you do get some additional benefits from the additional fire resistance, cold resistance, and lightning resistance you have based on which spirit you're using. Again, at 62, we have a choice to make, and for the purposes of this leveling guide, we're going with Socialite. This allows you to run around with an additional Spirit Magus, but as a consequence, they have an increased chance to lose a stack of nourishment when they attack. And then finally, Grow With It is the last trait that we're going to select. When a Spirit Magus uses a skill, for every +1 skill level, so this is any additional skill levels you have on your gear, you will then have a -3% chance for it to lose 1 stack of nourishment. So if you can get up to 14 additional levels from gear, you're going to have 42% reduced chance to lose a stack of nourishment, which is going to be very important later on, as maintaining this buff is going to make up for a lot of your damage. Additionally, when the Spirit Magus casts a skill, it has a 3% chance to be -50% attack and cast speed, but double damage. And this might seem pretty meaningless at first, but remember, because of how all these hero traits work, the more your Spirit Magus casts, the more chance it has to lose a stack of nourishment. So this basically doubles the time it takes to cast, but does double the damage, so you've got less chance to lose nourishment as you're not attacking as quickly. For talents, we're going to be starting in the God of Machines tree. If you need these trees, make sure you do check out the Maxroll guide, as the embeds will have everything available for you, as well as a step-by-step guide on where to place your points. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to scroll quickly through, and then we can talk about the major talent selections. Importantly, in this tree though, we get +1 minion skill level here on the end. That's what we're aiming for. For the major talent, Shrink Back gives us a nice layer of defense, allowing us to gain barrier when taking damage. This will give us a nice little buffer to any damage we're taking, whilst our Spirit Mages are taking care of business. At level 20, you're then going to grab Mighty Guard, which gives your Spirit Mages an additional 2 levels, as well as giving them an additional 40 growth initially. So they're going to ramp much faster into those higher stages. After completing the first 20 points in that tree, move into the Alchemist tree and follow the embed as it shows. Importantly, at the end here, we grab even more defense, with 8% of the damage we take is transferred to our minions. And we also get a lot of Spirit Magi and Power skill effect. For major talents, Source gives us -50% sealed mana for our Spirit Major skills. This combines with the 40% we get from our hero trait to bring us down to only 10% of the base seal cost. we also get some additional effects to our Spirit Mages, as well as more Empower skill effects. And then at level 36, more growth synergies. For every 20 growth a Spirit Magus has, it has 1% additional damage. Considering this can go up to 1,000, that is up to a 50% additional damage for your Spirit Magus, as well as 25 cooldown. So very, very strong point for Spirit Magus. Definitely one to grab as soon as possible. Steel Vanguard will be the final tree, and at this point, you're going to be getting all those Empower skills, all those defensive skills, and all those auras, so scaling them is very important. We are going to pick up some sealed mana for aura skills, as well as aura effect, and then down here at the bottom we get some penetration for our minions, so that fire damage is getting through the enemy defense. For major talents, we've got reflection, which gives us 30% additional aura effect. This is a huge node, so all that aura effect we're scaling, this is a multiplier to all of it. It's 30% more aura effect on top of everything we've already got. And finally, once you reach the end game and you're in the mid 80s, you're going to pick up Knowledgeable, which gives you a massive 55% Empower skill effect. And of course, all these benefits are going to be applying to Nourish, and then plus 10 to defensive skill levels. So you can see we have a very good balance between our offensive and defensive major talents, which makes this class very, very strong in all aspects. Let's move on to arguably the most important part of any build, and that is your skills. For the purpose of the video, we will be showing the active and passive skills. If you need access to all the links, as well as when to get them, head on over to the Maxroll guide. Everything will be right there. But starting off with our main skill, Summon Flame Spirit. He has some amazing abilities that we're going to be taking advantage of. His base skill is Blazing Dance, which is just your generic frontal attack. It deals 80% of base damage as spell fire damage. Next, as he gains in growth, he's going to cast Blazing Spin. This creates a massive fire domain, which deals fire damage over time to any nearby enemies. This is a huge amount of damage, and it also applies around your Spirit Mages, meaning you have a lot of coverage as you're going to have two of them running around. It also grants a very large critical strike rating buff that can be scaled even higher than the 435 shown here. Finally, for the leveling guide, we have Blazing Incineration, which causes you to attack in a circle in front of the Flame Spirit that deals an enormous amount of spell fire damage. It also deals additional damage if a critical strike was dealt recently. So we're going to get some crit scaling, and this is going to deal enormous damage. Now, due to our hero trait selections, we're not going to gain access to our Flame Spirit's ultimate ability. However, later on, if you manage to pick yourself up the legendary hero memory, you will be able to allocate this as well as the other level 62 talent. So keep an eye out for this early on if you can try and snag one. I imagine they'll be quite expensive, but if you can pick one up, it's going to be a huge increase to your damage. For our mobility skill of choice, we're going with the standard Blink. This is going to allow us to navigate around as our Flame Spirits deal damage, and then followed up by 3 Empower skills. First of all, Elemental Shock. This increases the amount of elemental damage our minions are going to deal, and it's also going to debuff the enemies with minus elemental resistance, which is going to be a massive damage boost. Nourishment of Life is going to be how we give our minions all their growth and allow them to climb to those next stages to deal more damage with their enhanced skills. This gives up to 100 initial growth value, and it also increases the skill range of the Spirit Mages. And then finally, for active skills, we have Dazzling Bloom, which allows you to maneuver your Spirit Mages whilst in combat. You can teleport them to a target location, and shortly after being teleported, they're going to deal a massive amount of more damage, up to 60% additional damage. As for passive skills, things are going to work a bit differently on this build. Given that our main active skill actually reserves a portion of our mana, we have less space available for other auras. But later on, when we get into the Steel Vanguard tree, we'll get plenty of reductions to our sealed mana, as well as our level 32 hero trait and major talent, reducing the seal of those mages. So with the available mana, initially we're going to grab Elemental Amplification to significantly improve your elemental damage, as well as Elemental Resistance to help make you more tanky and to cap those resistances early on. Once you get more sealed mana and aura effect, you can look to add in things like Rejuvenation, Charged Flames for additional damage, and if you need to be more tanky, an auto defense setup with Protection Field is going to be your best bet. Protection Field transfers up to 24% of the damage you take to a random nearby minion, and since our minions are so durable, they can take the hits instead of us, and we're going to be all good. Now onto the gear, and while leveling, it's definitely going to be slim pickings. You don't really have your pick of the litter early on, but some important modifiers to look out for are definitely going to be any affixes that boost your minion damage. So look for wands or a staff with additional minion damage, minion critical strike damage, minion critical strike rating, or minion attack cast speed. These are going to be your bread and butter, but later on, if you're lucky, you can find things like additional fire skill levels, additional spell skill levels. These are all going to boost up that Spirit Magus, as well as synergize with one of your hero traits to reduce the chance that they lose a Nourishment stack. On top of this, there are some new modifiers that scale very well with the growth mechanic. Particularly on rings, there is a modifier that grants additional damage based on how much growth your minion has. So definitely something to look out for later on. It's probably a rarer mod, but if you can pick it up, definitely grab it and try and craft that item further. For defense, life, and more life. Early on, it's going to be quite easy to cap your resistance due to the elemental resistance aura, especially once you start getting that additional aura effect from the final talent tree we're going to be in. So look to cap your resistances, get as much life as possible, and to make it feel even more comfortable, look for some regen rolls. If you can get a regen 3% life per second on your chest, everything's just going to feel a bit cozier. Armor also got changed this patch, so look for armor bases, as this will now apply to all the damage you take, albeit at a lesser rate, making it a much more desirable stat on more classes. So armor, life, regen, resistance, even some maximum fire resistance if you can grab it, as that is going to scale your Spirit Mages further. I hope you enjoyed this Forsaken Iris leveling guide. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, share it with a friend if you think they would like to play this build. If you need anything in more detail, you can head on over to Maxroll, and ZenM has made a leveling guide for this character with all the steps, all the support gems, everything you're going to need to do what I've shown you in this video. This has been Milky, and I'll see you in Torchlight SS2. Bye-bye.